It started as a whisper, a rumor so bizarre, so outlandish that many dismissed it as a late-night comedy sketch or a satirical headline. In newsrooms across the world, journalists exchanged glances, unsure whether to laugh or to dig deeper. The President of the United States wanted to buy Greenland. Yes, you heard that right. An actual proposal to purchase the world's largest island, a place of ice, rock, and strategic mystery. But the whispers didn't fade. Instead, they grew louder, confirmed by White House sources, and echoed in official briefings. This was no joke, no offhand remark. This was a real, serious offer. Suddenly, Greenland, a remote, icy landmass most people couldn't find on a map, was thrust into the center of a geopolitical firestorm. News outlets from Copenhagen to Beijing scrambled to cover the story. The idea wasn't new. Back in 1946, President Truman had tried to buy Greenland for $100 million, hoping to secure its strategic location during the early days of the Cold War. But hearing it now, in the 21st century, with the world so different, felt almost surreal. The proposal landed like a boulder in the icy waters of Arctic diplomacy, sending shockwaves through international circles. It forced nations to confront uncomfortable questions about sovereignty, self-determination, and the true nature of alliances. It wasn't just a quirky news story or a diplomatic oddity. It was a moment of clarity, exposing cracks in the transatlantic relationship that had been papered over for decades. The blunt, transactional offer, treating a nation as a commodity, revealed a deep disconnect between the US and its European allies, who saw the move as both shocking and tone-deaf. Greenland's story quickly became a symbol of shifting global power, a microcosm of the New World Order, and a warning about the fragility of old alliances in a rapidly changing world. The crisis forced the world to look north, to a place of stark, haunting beauty and immense strategic importance. Suddenly the Arctic was no longer a distant afterthought. It was front and center in the global imagination. The Arctic is no longer a frozen wasteland. It's the new frontier of global competition. Russia is building bases, expanding its military presence and staking its claim to the polar north. China, too, is making moves, calling itself a near-Arctic state, sending research ships and investing in infrastructure, all while eyeing the region's untapped resources and new shipping routes. And now, the United States was making a bold, unprecedented move, one that threatened to upend decades of peace and stability in the region, and to rewrite the rules of Arctic engagement. The Greenland question was no longer hypothetical. It had become a real, urgent test of diplomacy, sovereignty, and the ability of nations to resolve disputes without resorting to confrontation. The world realized, almost overnight, that the Arctic's future was up for grabs. The stakes were higher than ever and the outcome was anything but certain. And the Western alliance? Suddenly it looked more fragile than ever before, its unity tested by new pressures and old rivalries. The sale of the century wasn't just about land, it was about power, influence, and the future of the global order. A reminder that in the 21st century, even the most unlikely places can become the stage for history's next great drama. Greenland, often depicted as a vast, blank white space on the map, is the world's largest island, stretching across more than 2 million square kilometers. Yet despite its immense size, it is not classified as a continent, but rather as a unique landmass shrouded in ice and mystery. Politically, Greenland is an autonomous territory within the Kingdom of Denmark. It has its own government and parliament, making decisions on most domestic matters. However, Copenhagen still holds sway over foreign policy, defense, and monetary issues, creating a complex relationship that shapes daily life and long-term ambitions. This delicate balance of power is now under increasing strain, as Greenland's aspirations for greater independence grow louder and more urgent. Greenland's true value isn't just in its sheer size or icy expanse, it's in what lies hidden beneath the surface: vast reserves of oil, natural gas, gold, and rare earth minerals. Resources that are essential for everything from smartphones to electric cars are buried under the melting ice, drawing the attention of global superpowers and multinational corporations. As climate change accelerates the melting of Greenland's glaciers, these resources are becoming more accessible than ever before. This transformation is turning Greenland into a potential treasure chest, sparking a modern-day gold rush and raising the stakes for everyone involved. Geography adds another layer of importance. Greenland sits strategically between North America and Europe, making it a crucial bridge in the Arctic. It is also home to Thule Air Base, a vital U.S. military outpost that plays a key role in global security and surveillance. For the United States, Greenland is a strategic asset, an outpost in the far north. But for the people who live here, it is simply home, a place of deep roots and enduring traditions. The Inuit people have called Greenland home for thousands of years, surviving and thriving in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Their population may be small, but their culture, language, and identity are vibrant and resilient, passed down through generations. For Greenland's indigenous communities, the current global interest isn't just about geopolitics or economics, it's about their ancestral homeland, their way of life, and their right to self-determination in the face of outside pressures. As the world's superpowers circle, seeing opportunity and profit, Greenlanders see something far more personal at stake: their future, their sovereignty, and the preservation of their unique culture. Their message to the world is clear and unwavering: their land, their resources, and their destiny are not for sale, no matter how high the offer. The crisis unfolding in Greenland has awakened a sleeping giant, one with a powerful voice, determined to be heard on the world stage and to shape its own future. No longer a remote outpost on the periphery, Greenland now stands at the center of a global contest for resources, influence, and survival in the rapidly changing Arctic. The world must now reckon with the people who have always called this land home, listening to their voices and respecting their choices, as the Arctic's fate hangs in the balance. The future of the Arctic will be shaped not just by outsiders and powerful nations, but by the Inuit and Greenlandic people who have lived here for millennia, adapting to every challenge the land and climate have thrown their way. Greenland's awakening is more than a headline, it is a warning to the world. The era of ignoring the Arctic and the people who live there is over. The next chapter will be written by those who refuse to be overlooked. The Trump administration's message was blunt. Greenland was a real estate deal. Trump saw strategic value, resources, and a chance to relieve Denmark of subsidies. A win-win in his view. This approach reduced centuries of history and culture to a financial transaction. The human element, the aspirations of Greenlanders, was ignored. The US interest, though, ran deeper concern over Russian and Chinese activity in the Arctic. Russia is remilitarizing. China is investing in the region. For the Pentagon, securing Greenland would counter these rivals and cement US dominance. But the public focus on the deal made it sound like an impulse buy, not serious policy. The tone felt arrogant, more like a hostile takeover than an offer between allies. The backlash was swift and deeply personal for Greenland and Denmark. Greenland's response was immediate and united, a resounding no. Premier Mutbi Egede called the idea absurd. Greenland is not for sale. Across the political spectrum, Greenlanders rejected the proposal as an insult to their autonomy and identity. For decades, they've moved towards self-governance, dreaming of full independence. The American offer felt like a step backward, a new colonial relationship. Denmark echoed the rejection, with Prime Minister Frederiksen calling the idea absurd and canceling a US state visit. The proposal crossed a line, damaging trust between close allies. Greenland and Denmark stood together, insisting any discussion about Greenland's future must include its people. The US was forced to confront a reality. This was not a simple transaction. It was about sovereignty, identity, and respect. The message was clear. Greenland's future is not for sale. The alliance had been shaken. Europe's first reaction was disbelief, then alarm. Leaders in Paris, Berlin, and Brussels hoped it was a passing remark, but soon realized the US was serious. The tone, casual, transactional, dismissive of sovereignty, was deeply troubling. If the US could disrespect Denmark, what did that mean for other allies? The Greenland affair wasn't isolated. It followed years of tension over trade, climate, and defense. Publicly, European leaders were cautious, but behind the scenes, there was a sense of crisis. The episode fueled calls for European strategic autonomy, less reliance on the US. The fear of abandonment grew. The American security guarantee no longer felt certain. The silence from European capitals spoke volumes. Trust in the alliance was eroding. The Greenland crisis forced Europe to rethink its future. The Greenland crisis put NATO in an awkward spot. The alliance is built on collective defense, but what happens when the threat comes from within? Denmark, a founding member, expected solidarity. The US proposal challenged that. Greenland, as part of Denmark, is covered by NATO's security guarantee. The American move wasn't military, but it was seen as a challenge to territorial integrity. NATO's rules are clear on external threats, but murky on internal disputes. The crisis exposed a gap in the alliance's rulebook, a vulnerability no one had considered. Other members walked a tightrope to support Denmark, but don't alienate the US. The result was cautious diplomacy, trying to de-escalate without public confrontation. The alliance's unity was tested as never before. European leaders responded with diplomatic caution, no loud condemnations, just carefully chosen words. Publicly, they expressed solidarity with Denmark and reaffirmed transatlantic ties. Privately, diplomats worked urgently to manage the fallout, warning the US this was damaging the alliance. The EU reminded Washington that Greenland is already part of European partnerships. The message, hands off. The EU's involvement showed this was a European issue, not just a US-Denmark spat. The goal was damage control, preventing a permanent rupture in the alliance. Despite tensions, Europe still needs the US security guarantee. Leaders chose their words carefully, supporting Denmark while urging a return to cooperation. It was a delicate balancing act, classic diplomacy in a turbulent world. The crisis revealed the complexity of modern alliances. The future of transatlantic relations hung in the balance. The Greenland crisis didn't just make headlines, it exposed a much deeper, long-standing issue within NATO: the power imbalance between the United States and its European allies. For decades, US presidents from both parties have voiced frustration that European countries aren't pulling their weight when it comes to defense spending, often falling short of agreed targets. The numbers are stark. The US shoulders about 70% of NATO's total defense budget. This massive contribution gives Washington enormous influence over the alliance's direction and priorities, but this financial dominance breeds resentment. Many European leaders feel trapped in a cycle of dependency, unable to shape NATO's agenda without American approval. The Trump administration took this tension to new heights, aggressively highlighting the so-called 2% problem. Trump publicly berated allies, insisting that those who failed to meet spending targets were jeopardizing the alliance itself. When the US floated the idea of buying Greenland, many in Europe saw it as yet another example of America flexing its muscles, treating allies more like junior partners than equals. Behind closed doors, European leaders were often outraged by this approach, but in public, they remained cautious, careful not to provoke a deeper rift. The reality is, Europe relies heavily on US military power for its security, but this reliance comes at a political cost, fueling frustration and a sense of vulnerability. The Greenland episode laid bare just how fragile NATO's unity can be when trust is eroded and partners feel disrespected. The debate over the 2% spending target isn't just about budgets or numbers, it's a question of mutual trust, respect, and the very nature of partnership within the alliance. The Greenland affair became a symbol of this larger dilemma, highlighting the urgent need for a more balanced and respectful relationship. If NATO is to remain strong and effective, it must confront these imbalances head-on and find new ways to share both the burdens and the benefits of collective defense. The future of the alliance and the security of its members depends on it. Why does Greenland matter? Because it's not just about an island, it's about the future of the Western Alliance. The crisis exposed a deep crack in NATO's foundation, a clash of values and visions. It forced Europe to confront the need for strategic autonomy, acting independently if the US can't be relied on. The nature of security is changing. It's about resources, technology, and the Arctic's new importance. Adversaries like Russia and China watch, ready to exploit Western divisions. A fractured NATO weakens the democratic world. A united alliance is a force for stability. The way this crisis is handled will shape global security for decades. The Greenland affair is a barometer of alliance health. Will the crack be repaired or will it spread? The future, like the Arctic ice, is uncertain and fragile. The world is watching to see if the alliance can hold.